We will get started in just a minute at 4:15. Hope everybody's having a good day out there. It looks like spring is finally showing up, and I'm coming to you from White Plains in New York. It's pretty nice here today. The temperature is actually 78 degrees. I think we saw close to that maybe a month ago for one day. But my name is Ray Bagnuolo, and I've been doing this Substack thing for a little while, and I still don't know exactly how everything works. So I thought, all right, it's time to try this live thing. And I'm generally comfortable just talking to people and writing things. But for some reason, the idea of turning this on and being in front of the camera and saying, hi, here we are live. And it's a first, and I'm happy to be able to try it. So my hope is that as time goes by, it will be another way to talk about things that you think are important, that I think have some merit to discuss, and to consider ways in which people are doing different things that we can help to support one another. That's the intention. And so we'll see how that goes. I want to say that I started this a while ago, doing some of this writing and things, following the time that I was in a parish as a minister for about 7 years, and then finished with that, and then was working with another church and working in a hospital as a chaplain. I'm also a chaplain. And frequently what came up in discussions were how the enormous weight of these times felt like it was just on everybody's shoulders. It was like the air was filled with it, and you couldn't turn this way or that long before you felt or heard or read something that reminded you of how hard it was to process some of the things that people were doing or saying, or the direction in which they were taking us. And there's a lot of really, really smart people out there, here and elsewhere, who are talking about things like, what's happening in the country, and the different policies and the politics that are affecting everybody. And I stay up with that to a certain degree, and I'm interested in it because I want to stay informed. And I'm also very interested in it because I want to know who the people are that are talking about the things they're saying, so that when the time comes in the fall, I have a better sense of who I'm going to vote for, because this midterm election, clearly we all know, is really important. But one of the questions that came up almost every time I was talking with somebody in a situation like that was, how are we going to do this? How do we change this? It almost felt like some of the conversations, it was singularly the responsibility of the person in front of me, that they felt the singular responsibility to change this, to change the direction of the country, to change the unfathomably hard to understand things that some of our leaders were doing and taking us down the paths they were taking. And the cruelty and the mockery and the lack of concern and care and compassion. It's like the whole American ideology had been turned upside down. And this, give me, you're tired, you're poor, had been turned upside down. And it was now, just give us a hegemony that keeps us great again, as some folks had thought we once were. I was actually listening to a blog the other day, Joe Rogan, and he said something to the effect, he said, this Make America Great Again stuff, he says, we always were great. It's not like we weren't great. And it was the first time that I had heard him say that, and I had thought that for a long time. So there somehow had been inserted into our lives together this conversation that was telling us that things were really bad, and we were losing our stature, and people around the country around the world didn't respect us, and the drain on it were certain elements of our population and where they came from. And as a gay man, I get it. I get the the push and how powerful and strong it can be, especially during a period of time when people were trying to stop queer people from being ordained. I mean, they still do, but in the Presbyterian Church where I serve as a minister, we went through an enormous period of time in getting our Constitution changed at great cost to many people, and a lot of sorrow and a lot of hurt and a lot of really bad teaching. And our denomination was not the only ones with that. So I understand that. And when it all starts to surface, it's like everything comes out. And I just began talking online a bit and doing the Substack, not to go down the political commentary road, although that's part of it always, because we have to talk about what is affecting us. But it was also as of some reassurance that, you're doing good, okay? Yeah, one of my friends, when the terrible act of Putin to invade Ukraine took place, this wonderful person who is an octogenarian was ready to get on a plane to fly to Moscow to throttle Putin. She was going to do this because that's the only thing she could think of doing. And honestly, knowing her, she's strong enough to do that. And so it became important to me to reaffirm all we're doing. Those of you who are watching, or maybe you'll see this later, I know many people have family responsibilities. I mean, getting the kids up, getting them to school. I don't have any kids, so I can't speak from firsthand, but having been one who never wanted to get out of bed, especially when it was time to go to school, getting kids to school, getting them fed, taking care of mortgages, taking care of the responsibilities, doing a good job, bringing your gifts and your services and your time to the work you do. I mean, that's a really important part of being an integrated member of society in a positive way that has an enormous impact. And most of us do that. If you listen to some of these things, you'd think none of us did that. And then, at the age I'm at, although it doesn't have to be my age, I'm in my mid-70s just about. There's a lot of folks my age who are taking care of their elders, who are caring for them, their lives have changed from what they were to a schedule of getting to places where a parent or guardian is, to getting treatment, help, getting people to doctors, to physical therapy, being present, caring for people. That's sacred. That's sacred. I mean, I happen to, talk a lot about Jesus because the tradition I follow is a Christian one, although I believe all traditions are like languages that people use to communicate with the power that they see as a power greater than themselves, as a path to where good life and care and faith and kindness and compassion and love will lead you. But a friend of mine was this, Ray, if Jesus lived long enough, he'd probably be taking care of his parents. I mean, it's that human of a thing. And not everybody has that, but a lot of us do. And the other thing is taking care of our community and being engaged in helping neighbors, and the financial gifts that people offer to others quietly, donations made to certain organizations. So my point was to try and reaffirm, hey, yes, all of this is going on, but right now there is nothing, including getting on a plane and flying to Moscow, there's nothing that you can do, right, to singularly reverse this. But you can take care of those things that you continue to take care of, and to look in the eyes of your kids and others and let it resonate with the hope that I always see when I look at a child's eyes. And with this nation and the good things we know our neighbors are doing. Listen, we've been through a lot. And the pattern of this current administration is to turn that whole thing upside down again and take us to a place where we're not. So we have to shut down all of our media. We have to get rid of everybody who doesn't look like you or me, really. Thank God I don't have orange hair. And stop people reading the books that are going to poison their brain and make the religion something that is ideologically concurrent with the national interests, which is what Christian nationality is pretty much, um, and take away people's rights to love who they love, and to get these, oh my gosh, to invade cities with your military force. This is upside down. And I think one of the reasons it's managed to get so far is because we never thought it would happen. Whoever thought it would happen? We always knew there were people who had these thoughts and things, but we never thought that somebody would be able to take such control and to use this loud voice to bring up things that were curious in some part, and make them into these fearful things that everybody now had to watch out for. So we've been caught off guard, is what I think happened. And I came back from the march on Saturday. It was my third one that I was at. And one of the thoughts that I had after this one was, first of all, if you haven't been, it's okay, because not everybody can get there. But if you haven't been, and you just look at some of the pictures, you may pick up on some of this. And it is that there is a, I almost said institutional joy that is in the democracy that this democratic republic and the Constitution and the laws that we have that allow us to do this. There is a joy standing in the midst of thousands and thousands of people, or hundreds or dozens, no matter where you are, no matter how many. There is a joy in standing in the midst and going, I'm here, and it's still here, and we're exercising that. It's not just an ideal, it's actually an expression of something that we probably never thought we'd have to think about again, and now we do, and to get it out there. So that was one thing. The creativity, the signs are wild, some really good ones. And being a little bit of a flower power child back in the day, I really liked the ones with the flowers and the daisies and love thy neighbor and peace, not war. And oh God, it just warmed my heart to see that. But it especially is stunning. There was it was all okay. It looked to me like the person was doing it just fine. There was a guy with a comfortable wagon, I'll say, with 3 little kids in it, and he was dragging them along, wheeling them along, I should say. And one of them was holding a camera, one of them was holding a flag, and I mean, they were probably the youngest people in the march, and it went all the way up to people, I'm sure some into their hundreds. And every race, every gender, every identity you can imagine, every expression of whoever and whatever the creator is that you might believe in the amazing and manifold ways that love and that creation is expressed in the way we are created. It was wonderful. And then to be with friends, the support we bring to one another. Okay, let's go do this. There was a sense, and it was a real sense of having done something. I happened to also think the next day when they started talking about the numbers of people. 8 million people is a lot of people, okay? But the assurance that not only that number, now I personally knew several people who could not go because they couldn't walk for a variety of reasons. They weren't able to walk. They were working. They had commitments. They had commitments in other places. And a lot of different reasons people couldn't get there, right? So I thought, well, wait a minute now. I could probably come up with 10 people that would have gone if they could have. What if 8 million people came up with 10 people each? What if there were 15 or 20 people for every person who participated in the march, who just couldn't be there, but were in alignment, in agreement, within a broad spectrum of what it is we thought we'd never have to forget, that broad spectrum of thought and freedom and practice and discussion and openness and things of that sort. That is a formidable number of people. And of course, we're seeing it in different ways. So I just today wanted to get a feel for this and just talk a bit about how, yeah, we got problems. We've always had problems, and we got problems, but we're not done for. We're not at the end. We are at a point where we're going to get this thing turned up right side up. I was reading something earlier this morning in some of my writings about how movements and certain meditations and things you do, when they are done with others, erode things. They erode the fear. They erode the hesitation. They erode the lack of hope, right? Double negative, so it increases hope. And it's actually an erosion of this transformation that has been thrust upon us before we knew it was there, even though there were a lot of people saying, hey, it just didn't get out there the way that some of us were keen on from the beginning. But it's starting to erode, and we see that in a lot of different places. So I'm not seeing anything posted, but that's okay. I just, like I said, wanted to start this, and I wanted to just maybe finish up, if that's what happens, with something I have been saying. So I want to impact the election. You want to impact the election? We all want to impact the election. And I think chances are, if you're listening here, unless you're checking out those you think people who are talking about changing the election maybe as a threat, so you're trying to gather information, I don't know. But most people who might come into these conversations are really trying to turn things around so that some controls and constraints are placed on this wildness. And if you don't think it's a wildness, I mean, we didn't need it with Ms. Good's murder or Mr. Preddy's murder or the stuff that we watched or the people dying in these places. We didn't need more. But now on a global scale, all of this respect and appreciation and good relations that America basically had around the world, the trust and the ideologies, the ideals that we held up, well, they've been turned upside down too. So I think we all want to start that back, knowing it's going to be a long road, and the elections are the way to do it right now. They're just the way to do it, so we have to do it. So that's one thing really want to impact. And I said, well, what is it that's at the core of this that really I want to investigate in terms of how I select a candidate? And it came down to, however you understand it, this sense of love. This sense of when you take a family or a group of people, a loving group of people over here who believe in this, and another group over here who believe in this, and will never cross that boundary to sit down and have a cup of coffee or something with one another. What's common that we share? And I think it's that. I think it's love of family, love of whatever is really important. And it's even deeper than how we apply it in our daily lives, I think. It's elemental. And so when we look toward those we might consider voting for, I'm not kidding. If I get a candidate in front of me, the first question I'm going to ask them is, do you love people? Just tell me if you love people, you see? Because if you don't love people, I'm not voting for you. Because you got to love people to do some of the things that we need to do to take care of, to make people get what they need, make sure they get what they need, make sure policies are created that support those who need what they need and not enhance the easy ability, some call it corruption, the easy ability to glean and grift from the enormous responsibility and access you have in powers that are given to office holders in this country? And if the answer to that is, well, there's some people, no, I don't want to hear that. I'm sorry. It's either all or nothing. Either love them all or you don't. And if the answer is, well, it's hard. Yeah, it is. It's hard to love people all the time. I get it. But at least if you're trying, that's a good place to start. So okay. It's clear I can keep talking. That's good. Lesson 1 learned. And the next time I do this, maybe we'll have a little bit different a topic perhaps, or maybe people will suggest one. But thank you for looking and watching. I'll close with Adam Kinzinger. I watch his blog. I really like his voice. He's such a smart guy, and so brave and so courageous. The way that he stood up, and he starts these things sometimes by saying, "Okay, now breathe." Yeah, okay, breathe. He's lay it down. Yeah, stuff makes you angry. But you can't carry around anger all the time, and that's very true. We have to lay it down. We have to breathe, and gather in community, the community we still are, the broad national human community that we can trust one another and care for one another. And you know what? We're not going to change other people's minds who don't agree with us. At least my experience is that's pretty hard. However, it doesn't mean that I'm going to cut them off either. I'm not going to wait for them to change their minds for us to do things. That's being held hostage, and ain't going to do that. But I've decided, I'm going to continue to be a baker. Make bread, leave little crumbs and trails, so that if and when people want to come, one of the talk show hosts the other day said, for 5 minutes, I'm going to remember how we told you so. Then I'm going to forget about it and go on, because we need each other to go forward. So hey, that's it for today. There's a lot of observances of Passover and Easter, and Ramadan, I think, is finishing very soon, and others that I have forgotten or don't know anything about. So all of those in my heart and with all my love shared with you. And this thing about loving, and I do. I love you guys. I love you all. More deeply than the disagreements or arguments we may have. And that, to me, is what this nation has at its core. That kind of deep-seated love, that no matter what, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, you are welcome here. And we're going to get back to that. And we are. So, okay. All right. Thank you again. I look forward to seeing you soon. I'm Ray Bagnolo, and look forward to being in touch. All right, you take care.